Hey guys, Infidel1258 here. Tonight we're going to talk about the new legendary water summoner. I just saw the stats on this guy and I think it's going to be an exciting opportunity to just, with fresh eyes and with no preconceived kind of thoughts and opinions, let's look at what that will do for the water team. How will it fit in? What sort of obvious sort of meta changes might come out of it? I think it'll be a fun first response, first reaction to this. So I hope you'll stick around with me. Stay tuned, like, and subscribe. Let's get into it. Before we do that though, my name is Dwayne Cunningham and I go by Infidel1258 in the game. You can just call me 12. Leave your comments below with any great questions that you might have. If I respond to your comments in a future video, I will put your name on a list of people that can win a plot of land. There's one other way you can receive these raffle tickets to possibly win that plot of land. It would be to support my YouTube channel financially with the members only kind of community tab. So check that out if you're interested, and let's get into it. So I was on Twitter this morning and I saw Dahoda, I think it's Dahoda. Yeah, Dahoda posted the stats. He goes +2 health, trample, and reach. Wow, lots to think about here for the new water summoner. Lots of tank, off-tank options open up now, totally. I'm sure it's released in the Discord also. In fact, you know what, for certainty's sake, I trust Dahoda, but you know, let's just go to the announcements or eye candy. Is it eye candy? Announcements. Yeah, here we go. Third Chaos Legion, yep. Here we go. Posibillus. There are 230,000 packs left until the 1 million Chaos Legion booster pack is sold. I'm not certain how long that's going to take, but like we're burning 25,000 packs a day, right? So at most it's going to be 10 days at most, right? Closer to 9. And then you have to add to that, we have the Christmas sale on right now, which means that packs are probably going to sell within the next week. Third Water Elemental. It was designed by Dave McCoy. Okay, cool. Team Possible. That's why it's possible. It's cool. Yeah, keep in mind we're burning 25k packs are burned every day due to the recent proposal. Next 10 days. Wow. I love it. I love it. So this is Posibillus. +2 hit points, trample, and reach. My immediate response on looking at this is, first of all, what amazing monsters would you love to see in the second position as a reach monster that currently don't have that ability? There can be like the Krallis is an example. It's a water monster. But a monster that has melee and magic but doesn't have reach. Those exist. Oh, the taunt monster. Ooh. Now you'd be using dragon. I was thinking of the Agor Longtail, but he's a dragon. I want to fully explore that first. That to me strikes me as the most important element here, strangely. Like I was surprised to see reach. Trample's amazing, +2 hit points is amazing. But these +2 hit points is going to be amazing to every monster. There's never a monster where you think, oh man, I wish it had fewer hit points. And so I don't know that we need as much deep dive or thoughtfulness around that. Of course it's good. It's going to be good to every monster in the game. Trample is going to be more focused on the melee monsters, of course. And so you definitely, this is like a melee strong summoner, right? You're going to want, if you did, I think this is the question mark, like utilizing the reach well. You're going to want melee for sure. You're going to want hopefully double attack of some nature. Ooh, neutral monster comes to mind. Go buy. It's an older card. It's got the archery. Okay, Warchang. Untamed, melee, archery, retaliate, trample already. So in some sense, the intrinsic value of the summoner is diminished because the trample is being duplicated, and that doesn't add extra value. But this would be a good fit for a second position tank. One of the things about Warchang, it definitely, it's an amazing card, but the fact that the melee cannot fire from the rear makes this a very niche card in the sense of I only usually play it if it's melee from any position. In this new context, and this is a neutral, therefore will fit with that blue summoner. This would be a strong beneficiary of the new summoner. Not a cheap card. You know, you're talking 150 bucks for a max level. You can get a lot with 150 bucks these days is part of the problem. But I think this card, if you already own it, this card just got a buff out of this new summoner. I want to see cards that have double attack, like they have melee and magic. Let's go. I want to look at max level. And I'm looking at their abilities. Yeah, War Chang's part of that. And I'm just looking at their depiction and seeing if it has the both. Cards like Undead Rex would benefit too. Cards that have high melee damage output but don't have reach and are quite vulnerable because they have no defensive abilities, no shield, no void armor. This is interesting now. 7 cents. I've always liked this card, but you're talking 7 cents times I think 400. So it's not a cheap card either. I mean, it's not super expensive, and I have it already. Even Enchanted Defender, a card like this, I really like this card. First of all, one of its weaknesses is that it only has 1 hit point. Now it has 3. It has the Thorns ability and the huge armor. The weakness of this card is obviously that magic will kill it if you put it in the first position. If there's an opportunity rule set, this is vulnerable to magic attack. But in this new situation with this summoner described, you could put this in the second position. It would have its reach, being able to use its 4 melee damage output, and be relatively safe from opportunity attackers, still attracting your opportunity attackers, right? If your opponent is using melee focused opportunity, you're happy that you have this card because of the thorns, and then it is still putting that 4 damage out from the second position. Even cards like Chaos Knight, which is so strong because of its synergistic abilities. Oh, my bad. This is a life. But Demon Shark, not Demon Shark, Chaos Knight, because of the Inspire, makes me think about the blue team. There he is, Demented Shark. Demented Shark has that Inspire. And this is a great card in so many ways. I often use it as a sneak defender. But now in this context, you can play it. You can get that Inspire out there. You have the Thorns on the table, which is always good. And you've got a strong damage outputter, right? 3 turns to 4. 4 speed is great. Good amount of hit points, especially for a secondary tank. And it's got that reach now. The Demented Shark has always kind of suffered in the sense that it is supporting my team. It is maybe being a sneak attack defender. It's doing a lot of support stuff. But now it'll have an attack opportunity from that second position, which I think increases its utility and probably value. It's an intrinsic value. Rusty Android, a card I hate. One of my least favorite. It's probably the card I hate. Take note of this because I probably asked this in a future video trivia question. What's my least favorite card? Rusty Android. I just find it's practically useless. Like, it's too vulnerable. Yes, 10 hit points is not small, but it has 0 damage reduction, right? It doesn't have void or armor or anything to reduce damage. So really it can be deleted in 2 hit points and even by 2 attackers. And even while Magic Reflect can be great, you hate that like literally 2 decent magic damage dealers can kill this thing. 3 for sure. And you're not getting enough of the Magic Reflect before it goes down because of its lack of vulnerability, its lack of damage reduction. If it had void, armor, if it had armor, it would be so much better. But now this could be in the second position, and I start to like it because that second position introduces damage reduction to a card like Rusty Android, and yet it's still kicking out 4 damage. It's allowing blast monsters to be twice impacted, right? If your first tank is a Magic Reflect and your second tank is the Rusty Android, you got double Magic Reflect. Blast damage from like a Ruler of the Seas or some other magic damage dealers are going to be double reflected. And that's going to kill, especially with Amplify, that's going to kill your opponent so much faster. So interesting, Rusty Android actually maybe ticks up a little bit as a result of this one. In low mana matches, it could be nice to use the Frost line in the second position. It's actually pretty resilient. This is a great card for 2 mana. What it does and how it works and sort of its damage resistance, but now to make it not just 3 but 5 hit points, and not just a frontline tank but a secondary tank if you wanted. But even to put this in the first position just got stronger because it goes from 3 to 5 damage, or 3 to 5 hit points. Try that in the first position, and then Demented Shark in the second, and you're talking 8 mana plus 6 for the summoner, 14 mana. That's a great little team. And you got the Thorns. If he's going to sneak attack defend, he's going to amp the damage output. The damage reduction available with the Frost line is pretty significant. So this would be a nice shield for the Demented Shark while they put together a significant amount of damage, 3 and 4 damage output. I like that. That's a interesting little idea. Or cards like Feasting Seaweed, which already have opportunities, so don't need the reach component. But one of the weaknesses of this thing is how quickly it can be deleted. If you bring like a 4 or 5 melee damage opportunity monster, which exist, I'm thinking in the fire team, Serpentine Spy can do 4 or 5 damage easily, and you just delete this thing before you even go. 4 speed is quick, but the Serpentine Spy is like a 6 speed or something like that. And so the Scavenge doesn't get a chance to go to work. But in this context where you're throwing 2 more hit points, I like that a lot better. And 4 mana, this is an amazing card. Look at these win rates too. These cards I'm highlighting have very relatively low win rates, all of them. So they're actually standing to gain. There's an opportunity for improvement through this. Ooh, the Serpent of Eld. Again, one of the weaknesses of this card is that it is vulnerable to magic. And so in the first position, it can die so quickly, and then it puts in less work. But you put it in the second position with the reach, let the poison go to work. And yeah, if it goes to the first position, you're not so scared any longer. Sea Monster could be a secondary great tank. Again, the Thorns and the heal. It can heal against Blast. I love having a heal in the second position because Blast can often trickle into your secondary tank. This would be so resilient. And at 14 hit points, right? Because 12 plus 2 from the summoner. If you can bring 1 more strengthen, and there are several good strengthen cards on the blue team, then you can get this to 15 hit points. If you're at 15 hit points, you're healing 5 hit points per heal. So huge heal potential from the Sea Monster in conjunction with this new summoner, Posibillus. With that in mind, tank heal becomes more interesting, more helpful. Like Demon Shark going from 10 to 12 actually means 1 more hit point per round per heal. And so as susceptible as Demon Shark is all currently to magic attack, yes it is, unless Void Armor kicks in because of the rule set, it got more resilient in this moment to magic because of its increased healability, its increased hit point pool through Posibillus. I like this card a lot. Kraken's the same thing, going from 4 heals per heal to 5 heals because of the Posibillus health point improvement. Even a card like Legionnaire, who again is providing a lot of interesting ability support. Like the Demoralize is always great. You love to see that. This is already a high win rate. This is strong. I mean, a relatively strong win rate and a relatively strong card. I think this helps it. I think you see this from a second position. Anytime you can get a nerf or a buff, that support opportunity is very interesting. And when you pair that support opportunity with increased security for that support monster and increased utility, it's got increased security because it's in the second position now. It can fight from that second position. Increased utility because it can actually do damage from that second position, not just be there supporting. And in that second position, man, what a tank. This is a huge hit point pool. If Blast Magic is happening here, if Blast Archery is happening here, Blast Melee, if any kind of Blast is hitting this thing, yeah, it doesn't have a Reflection Shield, but it has such a huge hit point pool with this armor. And its Void Armor. And then it's dropping, Death Blow and Giant Killer too. So Wow, I like that. Now your speed's still a problem over here, but oh, Frozen Soldier, another one of those ones that's super susceptible to early magic kills if you put it in the first position, but is strong in so many ways. Has a lot going for it. Now it's going to have 2 more hit points, and in the second position, I really like this. Ooh, Hobgoblin with the double strike and, you know, potentially 4 and 4 with if you drop in the Demented Shark, right? Interesting. Again, weakness being hit points. You see how often this is like, think before the change in Chaos Legion, we were talking about how I thought blue, the water team, might really develop into its own melee meta. And I think we've seen that. Like Demon Shark, Deep Lurker, Tide Biter. These are cards that have been really successful, Kraken, with the blue team using melee. And I think it's potentially just gotten stronger. I think it definitely has just gotten stronger through this summoner. This is an exciting summoner for the blue team. Older cards that you probably don't have, but maybe should. Goblin Mech. This thing's hits like a truck. The stun is crazy. The pierce is crazy. The damage output's nuts. The only thing you can do to stop this sort of card from the second position is have force field. So, man, if this thing's slapping you and you don't have force field, your front line is gone. So you better either avoid it through having greater speed or have force field. And I think that force field might be very significant and more important because of Posibillus, this water summoner. Because you're going to see this where significant damage increase happens as a result of the new positioning available through that reach mechanic. Cards like Goblin Mech, cards like Frozen Soldier, cards like Legionnaire, cards like the Demented Shark can slip into a second position and put out that damage while being more resilient and secure through that second position. Even Sea Monster in that second position. Wild. Very, very exciting. It's like a melee, a strengthening of what they can already do with the melee. I mean, you could even put the Coral Lurker in that second position. I like a taunt in the second or, you know, in the rear positions. But then you lose with Coral Lurker. You lose its damage output. Not with this monster, right? You put it in the second position. You bring triage monsters to support your Coral Lurker. And there are actually a good number of triage on the blue team. And then you're getting that damage output. And you're giving more breathing room for your primary tank, your first position tank. So what can often happen is the first position tank is maybe something a little more vulnerable. It could be, you know, you might bring something, I don't know, what would be an example? You might bring a Battle Orca for low mana output. It has no sort of abilities, no sort of security or damage reduction. It's going to have 10 hit points through Posibillus. It's going to go into the first position. And it's going to be a big old meat shield in front of the Coral Lurker. Now, most attackers on your opponent's team are going to attack the Coral Lurker, right? If it's a 6-person squad that you're fighting off against, 2, 3, 4 of them are going to be in the back lines, are probably going to be doing either archery, opportunity, or magic, right? Those monsters are going to target your Coral Lurker. But the Battle Orca in the first position is going to have possibly 1 attacker, which is going to be, or 2 attackers, which is going to be their first position tank and their second position reach tank, if they have that. So the Battle Orca has less attackers because of the distraction due to the taunt. And therefore, taunt in the second position or at the rear is so helpful. But for that to really work, it needs to have that damage output still allowed, permissible. In the rule set, either melee only or this new summoner giving it a reach ability. So I really like the Coral Lurker in this new partnership too. Is there any other angle I'm missing here? I don't see a lot of monsters that have like the double attack functionality. Am I missing something here? No, this is it, right? I got all my blues, all my neutrals. There would be no other partnerships. that would reach into Posibillus. Yeah. So I would argue some of the greatest benefactors of this new summoner. First of all, I would argue that this new summoner is going to be very impactful. It's going to help the blue team in a significant way. It's going to contribute to what is a growing melee meta for the blue team. Doesn't mean that they don't do other things well. It just means that this is a new angle and an improved angle for success for the water splinter. In addition to that, I think some of the unique benefactors, or those cards that really appreciate as a result of this new reach ability within the summoner, not to mention the hit points, I think are going to be Coral Lurker, who's already amazing. Something like a Battle Orca, who would love to have reach and 2 extra hit points. Think of the team Posibillus could offer. You get your 2 mana. You get your 2 mana. Where'd it go? You get your Frost Lion for 2 mana in your tank position. It now has 5 hit points and 2 armor, which, you know, void armor and shield. That's pretty resilient for 2 mana. And then you put behind it Battle Orca, which now has reach and more resiliency due to its second position now, right? It's no longer in the first, it's no longer tanking everything, and 2 more hit points. That's a lot of damage. And then you could put in, like I said earlier, Feasting Seaweed, who, because of its extra 2 hit points, is going to have more opportunity for that scavenge to kick in. And you're talking about 2, 3, 9 mana for your monsters and 6 for your summoner. Throw in the Torrent Fiend in the back line to nerf their headwinds, their archery damage output, and even to be a meat shield from a sneak attack defense. I think that's a pretty significant play. I really do. I think, though, and that's just one example, but I mean, there are several. There are several here, and you know, maybe it's, you know, like I said, Rusty Android benefits. Every single melee card here benefits. I really like what it does for the Disintegrator, because again, it's a support tank. I've always said this. Disintegrator is more of a support monster or a support tank, because these abilities are great. You like to see them, but you don't want to see them in the first position. It's too weak and vulnerable. Like I said, the exact same thing with most of the tanks that I pointed to today. Their weakness is not that they don't do damage. Their weakness is not that they don't contribute, that they're not valuable. Their weakness, Serpent of Eld, Disintegrator, even Demon Shark, their weaknesses are in their own vulnerability to, for instance, magic. But 2 more hit points and being able to now fire from the second position. How do you like Demon Shark from the second position? Wow. Wow. I mean, I like it. I still like it in the first position, but Kraken and then Demon Shark, or, you know, heck. Wow. In like huge mana matches, Kraken and then Coral Lurker. Is there a... Oh man. Just the taunt, the distraction, the huge hit point pools, plus the 2 from Posibillus. Holy cow. I think this is really interesting. Now, is it better? Is it worse than the existing summoners, than the other Chaos Legion legendaries? How does Posibillus fit in here? Posibillus, 2 hit points. Trample. We didn't really talk about the Trample. Of course it's going to be powerful. Of course it is. Trample is amazing. So that's going to make Double Strikers even more powerful too. I didn't really cover that, but something like the... I did point to Double Striker with melee. The Hobgoblin with the reach and the Trample just got a lot more effective. The Trample is going to really benefit piercing. Trample is going to really benefit Double Strike, because Double Strike means that you have twice as many opportunities to trample. Piercing means you have an increased probability of trampling due to the nature of punching through armor and then potentially finishing off an opponent. And, you know, a lot of those cards that don't have any abilities, like I said, the Battle Orca, seeing a Trample and a reach on a Battle Orca makes a Battle Orca a crazy 3 mana card. At the highest levels, doing, like I said, 4 damage output, 4 speed, 8 hit points turning into 10 with the reach and with the Trample. Wow. I really think Posibillus fits in a powerful way for the blue team. And I think this gives so much room for you to creatively rethink what blue can do. The reach, specifically, I'm talking now about the reach ability. Yes, trample is important. Yes, the hit points are important. But the reach to me strikes me as surprisingly. Like I look at this card, first thing I thought was, oh wow, hit points. And then, oh, trample. And then I last looked at the reach and I thought, reach, is that good? But the more I've thought about it, I really think that's the strongest impact because it opens doors for cards that have great usefulness, and great value, and great support mechanics, but they lack damage output because of their vulnerability, which is now improved because of their second position possibility. And that is the massive changer here, the massive opportunity here. So using that well, to me, strikes me as the most important thing out of this card. And I think it's a very valuable card for specifically the blue Splinter team. Again, how does it shape up compared to the other two here? The other three. I mean, I'm not even really considering Quicks because Quicks is good, but I'm going to say that the other Dragon Summoner is going to be necessarily better than Quicks. I feel like Quicks is just an interesting opportunity. I'm not crapping on Quicks. I like Quicks, but I don't think of him as in the same caliber as these two. And so Posibillus, where is Posibillus in conjunction with Grandmaster or Conqueror? I mean, they're just so different. I love how different they are. Like we've got speed with this is your monsters don't get any more defensive over here, right? They're just, in fact, your monsters are possibly more vulnerable in the sense that Scattershot doesn't necessarily organize where your attacks are landing, and therefore possibly opens you up to being more vulnerable to an organized strike from your opponent. So Conqueror Jassic is like pedal to the metal offense, and then Grandmaster Wraith is like straight up defense, and then the new Posibillus. How could we summarize that? I mean, the word that comes to mind is like reimagining. It's a reimagining of a Water Splinter team, introducing all kinds of new possibilities. Posibillus, right? Interesting. Yeah, so I like it a lot. I think it's going to work well with the Water team. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to own this. I'm personally going to get 20 or 30 of these things because I bought so many Chaos Legion packs. And I am pumped. So we're getting this in less than 10 days, guys. Maybe a week. This will be on the marketplace. I hope you're excited too. If you are, leave a comment, like, subscribe. If you watch to the end, make sure you're subscribed because you're obviously somebody that enjoys this sort of content. And one, I appreciate you. And two, it helps YouTube recognize quality content that other people might enjoy too. Have an amazing day. God bless.